about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Doc Dali, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So I'm a little perplexed. I am seeing the news where eggs are plummeting. The price is plummeting. Still not pre-pandemic or pre-inflation costs. But from what I understand, these $8.69 carton of eggs have dropped to $4, maybe $3. And I'm seeing all these news stories, but I'm going to the grocery store and the eggs are $7.99 a carton. What the heck is going on here? So the first question is, how did all of a sudden egg prices drop, and to what degree? So Forbes is saying where egg prices hit a record high of $8.17 per dozen back in March, they have dropped now to $4.90 per dozen, although there's another source saying they're down to like $3.47 a dozen. And that happened within a week, one of the sharpest declines in recent history. And so the first question people have is, wait a second. How do you go from, almost a 50% drop? What the heck is going on? Well, they do believe that supply and demand is playing a big factor to that. Okay. If you aren't, I think farmers are concerned and egg suppliers are concerned that once somebody gets used to, we don't need eggs. The longer this goes and the longer you don't decide to incorporate eggs and put them in your shopping cart, the harder it is to get those consumers to shop back. And so I think they're noticing that fewer people, I haven't bought eggs since they went up. No, I'm not going to bake eggs. I'm not going to cook eggs. You don't bake an egg. I'm not going to mix eggs into whatever I'm cooking. I'm going to do it without the eggs. I'm going to save the money. And so when demand goes down and supply starts to rise, prices fall. Another issue is we're hearing they aren't killing as many or culling as many of these egg-laying hens. Now, some are saying that the avian flu is starting to get under control. Maybe it is. Maybe luck of the draw, the avian flu is going down. Or maybe they decided that they have been killing preemptively and they might not have to if these birds are not exposed and if they don't have avian flu to that degree. One of the five-pronged approaches that the USDA and Department of Agriculture wanted to do to help with the egg prices is to replicate what's happening on some farms and some egg producers where they haven't been afflicted and their chickens haven't gotten the avian flu. Some of their protective measures and some of what they're doing might need to be an industry standard. So let's try to replicate what's working. And so it's very interesting how all of a sudden we're seeing a huge drop. But what's also interesting is I go to the grocery store and they're still expensive. So the next question is, if egg prices are really dropping and plummeting at historic rates, why aren't the grocery stores doing it? Why not? Well, some are saying the problem the grocery stores have is they had to pay a lot for those eggs. The eggs that are right now on the shelf is not the $4 or the $3 price. It was the $8 price. So they are selling you the $8 eggs. So they want to get the $8 eggs. Another thing is grocery stores who have gotten hit by people not buying eggs and the losses that they have, they know that Easter's coming up and Passover's coming up and you need eggs for that. People ask me, why Passover? Why do you need the eggs? You do Easter eggs on Passover. A lot of Jews, I can't speak for a lot of Jews. I love decorating Easter eggs and things like that. But I use eggs for Passover because, one, you need it for the Seder plate. You need to have an egg. And also, when you eat matzah, the matzah we have to eat since we're not allowed. Well, we don't have to eat the matzah. We do during the Seder. But instead of bread, we might make sandwiches and pizza with the matzah. That matzah is such a sharp, geometrically uncomfortable cracker that in order for some of us to digest it, we make something called matzo brie, where we soak the matzah in egg, and then we add some seasonings, and then we mix it up, and it's actually really tasty, and it's really filling, and it's not that many calories, because matzah isn't a lot of calories, unless, you add a lot of butter and you make your matzo brie very highly caloric. But so a lot of us will eat matzo brie, and trust me, you need a lot of egg. For me to take, and I'm going to show you, how this sharp, geometrically angled, those corners are so, I have never seen a right angle so sharp. When it just goes down your gut, it's to me, it's the most painful thing. All right, I'll do Lent in a heartbeat. I know you guys are not liking Lent than having to eat a week of matzah, but I'm Jewish, so I have to do the matzah thing. In fact, that'd be nice if I could do Lent and give up matzah for Lent, but it's got to be something you like. And so for me to barely digest this matzah, I have to soak it in, chicken farm size, batters of egg. And so, we buy a lot of egg for that. And so maybe many of these grocery stores are like, wait a second, Easter's coming up, Passover's coming up. If we could still glean a little bit more money, we're going to. Also, things do. There's always a little bit of a delay from supplier to distributor and market. So you might not see the prices. Now, there is a lot of pressure for grocery stores to be selling these cheaper eggs. I still don't like the fact that a carton of eggs is $3-4. I kind of miss the old $2 a carton, for eggs. But I'll take it. A $4 carton of eggs is much better than an $8 carton. I gave you a picture of my local grocery store. But no, the grocery stores, it might not. Because, again, they need to sell their $8 eggs off first. But, again, supply and demand. If people don't want your $8 eggs, they're not going to get it. And they'll go to the place that is finally selling. If they're smart, they'll be like, hey, guys, egg prices have dropped. You can now get your eggs for $4. So that's probably what they should do. But if we're killing fewer birds, and if the avian flu is starting to get under control without having to use a vaccine, I think consumers are going to be happy. 1-877 Doc Daliah.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by right now to answer your questions for free. They'll tell you if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-710-5100. I'm here with spokesman John Wolf. So, John, tell our listeners who should call right now.
Well, Maria, first off, thank you for having me join you to answer the listeners' questions. Now, as far as who should call in, anyone who's been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, give us a call right now and find out how much your case is potentially worth. Call 800-710-5100.
Thanks, John. You heard it, folks. If you think you deserve compensation, call now to find out how much you qualify for. 800-710-5100.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
At Hotshot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Hotshot Secret Stiction Eliminator.
Stiction, that sticky friction, undermines the performance of diesel engines. Third-party ASTM testing verifies that Stiction Eliminator removes 2 times as much stiction than any alternative on the retail shelf. Stiction Eliminator is formulated to be left in the engine oil. It works as you drive.
Available at truck stops, Tractor Supply, O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and online at HotShotSecret.com. Hotshot Secret. Powered by science.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to TotalWellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. TotalWellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Dali, 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So some people are saying Trump and Putin spoke for an hour. The Hill is saying Trump and Putin had a nearly 3-hour phone call. I believe it. Trump spoke for nearly 3 hours on Tuesday with Russian President Vladimir Putin, according to The Hill, as the next step into trying to end the Russia-Ukraine war. Putin, from what we understand, has held back endorsing the U.S.-led ceasefire following meetings in Moscow with the special envoy Steve Witkoff. But Ukraine accepted the terms of the ceasefire during their talks after Trump officials met in Saudi Arabia with Saudi Arabians and other individuals who are trying to help broker peace. But this 3-hour phone call, from what we understand, we're being told was good. I'm sure we're going to get some more information soon. But it's not going to be easy. I know Trump said that he wanted to get this done before he even entered office. He was limited. Remember, people say, God, he said he was going to, end the war before he started being president. You forget that Biden took away his clearances. Biden wouldn't let him get updates. And so for him to start to negotiate and use, the latest of the, of the information, the intel, he couldn't do it before he was president. It was, they're probably also maybe strategic. It's better for him to do it while he's a president. But, he was very limited. Biden, limited his Secret Service. Biden limited. So for him to try to broker this as a non-president, difficult. Much easier for him when he was president. And much easier for him when he also had his Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, who is fan-flippin-tastic. God, I love Marco Rubio. And his special envoy, Steve Witkoff. So for him to be able to, because he can't just go himself, he has to have staff. And he has to actually pay for these staff. So for him to do it pre-president, it made sense for him to at least wait until he was president, once he could get the clearances and get all the data and intel of what's been going on. So, do I think he's going to do it? Absolutely. I think so. Ukraine needs the U.S. on board. The U.S. has already shown that they're tired of dumping billions into the war. And Putin is going to try to finagle as much of the land that they want back from Ukraine that they had during the Soviet Union, which was originally Ukraine's before Soviet Union took it. He's going to he needs to bring back a win. So it's sad that the war even happened and the atrocities that happened. And, by no means do we want Putin to get what he wants. But I think right now the goal is to get the war to end. And I think that's Trump. Trump wants this war to end. And I know Ukraine is very concerned about their sovereignty, about their borders, and about their natural resources. But if they are joined at the hip with the U.S. isn't going to let that happen. So I think that was a very, very smart move on Trump's part. And as I said, the Ukraine is easier to negotiate with than Putin. He needs to know that Ukraine was on board. And once he got Ukraine on board, now the hard part is going to be working with Putin, especially since you can't trust him farther than you could throw him. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, but at least there have been some steps. So the call has ended, and we will find out more. Doesn't mean the war's ended, but hopefully it's a step towards that. So, the Democrats on their side, and I love talking about, some of the political headlines, they apparently have been, trying to evaluate what their party is, who their party preaches to, who their audience is, and what works for them. And so in a latest poll, I am shocked by this, but not shocked at the same time. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez narrowly leads in a poll of Democrats on which political leader best reflects the core values of the party. Really? Ocasio-Cortez? This was a CNN survey released on Sunday where Democrats and Democratic-leaning independents were asked to name one person when thinking about Democratic leaders today. Now, you would think that Gavin Newsom might rate higher, but after the California debacle, again, the media is making it act like, oh, California is so awesome, and I'm from California, so I love California. That's my home state. But to see what it's become and what their leaders are doing, it's impossible to live there. I'd love to move back to California. I can't afford it. It's ridiculous. Not to mention all their mandates and their new rules. And I'm sorry, I can't stand paper straws. These paper straws and getting paper in your mouth. How healthy is that? Anyway, he didn't score as well. Ocasio-Cortez got 10% of the vote. Kamala Harris got 9%. Bernie flippin' Sanders, as the representative voice, as the voice of reason for the Democrats, got 8%. Hakeem Jeffries, who I thought would do better, got 6%. Obama and Representative Jasmine Crockett of Texas got 4%. Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer, Gavin Newsom, Nancy Pelosi, and Alyssa Slotkin both got 2%. So that's fascinating because right now the Democrats are trying to figure out who should run in 2028. They also need to figure out, are they going to lose 26 seats in the upcoming House elections during the midterms? And I would tell Democrats, you really, for the love of the Lord, need to use common sense. And we're going to be talking about this case where this girl, this mom, is she should press charges, should be criminal, where this girl was forced to undress in front of a boy in the locker room who was, I believe, 13, claiming he was transgender. Many Democrats don't want this. I have Republicans and Democrats in the family. I have Republicans and Democrat friends and close colleagues. Democrats don't want a lot of what the Democratic Party has said they stand for. And many of them felt conflicted that you had to either be on their side or if not, you were called racist or canceled, and that you had to go with the whole package or you were in trouble. And it was interesting. A Democrat was at my hair salon, not my salon, but I was getting my hair done. And she was saying the big problem that the Democrats had is they weren't flexible and they didn't allow other Democrats with different point of views to be a part of the party. That's huge. You have to be like, look, we welcome you. We welcome your ideas. We're going to be more moderate. But when Democrats said, I don't think I like this, I don't think you should be writing off student loans when all of us had to pay for ours, and plumbers and individuals that didn't go to college, that's not really popular. The electric vehicle mandate, not cool. A lot of us live in apartments. How do you charge a car and there's not enough charging stations out there, or there's a 30-minute line? Can you rethink this? And nope, everybody doubled down on that. Transgender surgery for kids and transgender medical transitioning for a child that can't give consent or understand what they want in terms of future fertility and future height and future growth or future. A lot of Democrats are like, I don't like that. A lot of Democrats are concerned about 1 million abortions being done each year. Many Democrats do understand that it is the killing of a fetus, but they don't want to limit a woman's choice. All right. So I told you the abortion issue was a lot easier to handle. Number one is let's help women, not 1 million of them, not get to the point where they are faced with having an unwanted pregnancy. We're already putting millions, if not billions, of tax dollars into condoms and free birth control through Obamacare. Why aren't we, helping these women out so we don't have 1 million faced with that challenge? What is going on? Is it that condoms are $1 a condom? Is it that abortion now seems to be so easy that people are like, oh, I don't have to use a condom anymore? What is going on so we could help prevent, not only is it a tragedy for the fetus, but it's a tragedy for the mom. that has to go through that. And these studies say, oh, yeah, but they're fine. After the abortion, they're mentally fine. I have a lot of women that came back not fine. And they went through a lot of depression once they had the children they kept. And they were like, I didn't realize what I did. And so, Democrats are a lot more moderate, the mainstream ones. And you have to allow room for that, or they're going to be pushed out of a party and you don't get their votes. 1-877-DOC-DALI. Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Oh, all right. So this next case is something that I'm sure you guys have heard the story. And when we talk about transgender students, transgender boys who are biological girls that want to now be men, be boys, or transgender girls who are biological males that want to transition and be a girl or identify as a girl. It's not an easy topic to discuss because it's very complex. And I said we need to really get to the root of why these individuals want to be a girl, want to be a boy. Now that we're getting rid of the stereotypes with dresses and pink and sports and all that, why society, why do you want to be in society identified as that? Because now, we don't ascribe to the old stereotypes. You could dress however way you want. You can, that you can wear what you want. But the true transgender individuals are those that look at their body going, I'm in the wrong body. And those individuals need a lot of support. And you need to notify the parents. And you need to let the parents be there for support, whether they want to identify as a girl or boy. You can't keep it from them. And the issue wasn't a very personal, private issue, because it then started to extend into, well, I want to use the bathroom I identify as, which, by the way, can also be a root cause of somebody wanting to transition. The boys' room, the girls' room could be very, very scary places. So if somebody says, I want to use the other bathroom, why? I can't tell you how many times I wanted to use the men's bathroom. The girls were mean, and the line for the girls' bathroom, every time I'm at a sporting event, the men's bathroom, quick, but the women's room, there's a long line. I'm like, let me pee, honey, can I go with you in the men's room? Yeah, so you need, when you do have a child that does want to use the opposite bathroom, you need to get to the root of that, because it might not necessarily be that they want to transition and go through all of that. It could just be, there are things that happen in that bathroom that they don't want to be a part of, or they're embarrassed, or there's this bully who is vicious and they want to avoid them at all costs. So anytime you do have that, in addition to a diagnosis of transgender or transsexuality, there might be something else at play. Well, it's gotten down to a degree, to a level where schools are very confused and they need some guidance. Trump offered guidance as it pertained to restrooms, but apparently somebody didn't get the memo, and now a mom has filed a civil rights complaint with the Justice Department because she has on audio, I think she even has on video, that school administrators tried to force her 13-year-old daughter to change in front of a transgender student in the girls' locker room last month. Now, Nicole Georges from Illinois revealed the complaint during a Board of Education meeting for Deerfield Public School 109 last week. She claimed the incident took place last month after her daughter refused to change into her uniform during physical education because a biological male student was present at the time. The girls want their locker rooms. They want their bathrooms back. They want their privacy back. She says, "This is why I'm here tonight. My 13-year-old daughter's well-being, mental health, privacy are at stake." She said her daughter was frightened and extremely upset when on February 5th, she was using the girls' bathroom and noticed that a transgender student was also using the facilities at the same time. She was told by administration that the student can use the bathroom as well as a female locker room because they now identify as female. Then when she had to change, from what we understand, an administrator came in and I guess ensured that I think she and other classmates decided to not change into the uniform because that transgender student was there. And school administrators pulled the girl aside, later made them change into a uniform. Multiple teachers all came into the girls' locker room, making them change into uniform. And this went on for a week. Her daughter still refused to take part. Now, when I was 13, I went from a training bra to a B cup, and it was like zoom. And 13 is not an easy time. We are not confident with our bodies. We don't even want to change in front of other girls. I hated changing in front of other girls because I had bigger boobies than other girls. And you would think, you'd be like, okay, well, look at me. No, when you're a 13-year-old girl and you feel like you're top heavy and it's starting to impede the way you do in sports, no, it wasn't a good thing. Not at 13, 16 years old, maybe. But a 13-year-old girl who is trying to be picked first when they're picking teams and the boobies are starting to get in the way, because sports bras were not as good as they are today. Today, these sports bras are like Kevlar. I mean, they're military grade. They didn't have them when I was 13. And so a 13-year-old girl, especially if she also has her period and, things might start to be leaking. This is something that's already embarrassing enough in front of other girls, let alone to be in front of a biological male. And as I've said before, what these schools are going to have to do is just have single-use bathrooms or single-use showers. I think we're going to be getting away from the idea of everybody changing in front of each other. If it's if people do not feel they have their privacy among girls or boys, then they'll probably have to do single use. And that's going to be more expensive, but you can't force somebody to change. Now, they said that there were the school is denying that. I think the superintendent says, no, nobody's allowed to force anybody, but they are investigating what happened. And the mom says, I got proof. I got on audio. All right. They forced them to change into their uniform. Now, I remember getting into trouble if we didn't change. I also remember getting into trouble if we didn't shower. They made us shower, probably because a bunch of us would stink, if we went back to classroom. So we all had to shower. We all had to. And I hated that, and it bothered me. But you know what? I was among girls. If that's what we have to do, we have to do. Everybody kind of everybody's feeling kind of insecure. Nobody at that age is peacocking. But to also have a biological male, these girls aren't used to that. Now, somebody could say, Dr. Daliah, we need to be more like Europe where, people aren't ashamed of their nudity and all that. But still, a 13-year-old girl, they're not going to be ready for that. And, I am very comfortable around people who are transgender, true transgender. But what about individuals who aren't? A big concern we have is what if these individuals really aren't truly transgender? And it's that's just too much for the child to comprehend, the one undergoing this, let alone other children. And the funny thing is most transgendered children don't even want that. They don't want to make other people feel uncomfortable. They just want to get the hell away from the other bathroom or from whatever they are trying to get away from. So who's doing this? It's the teachers. It's the teachers trying to be woke and looking like, well, look at what we did. We made a stand. Well, for those of us who were, professors and in academia, Title IX hit you over the head multiple times if you made anybody feel like they had to expose themselves to somebody who they didn't want to, or if they were exposed to a penis when they didn't want to be. Title IX is supposed to protect them. So now the mom is filing a civil rights complaint with the DOJ, and then I think the DOJ referred it to the Department of Education. But, listen, you're hurting the vulnerable population that you are trying to help. The average 8-year-old, 10-year-old, 13-year-old transgender boy or transgender girl doesn't want all this. Right? They want a bathroom that they could change in and be away from these other. So why are you forcing, a problem that really doesn't have to be? And we'll see what happens. 1-877 Doc Daliah.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by right now. They'll tell you if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-910-7500. That's 800-910-7500. Call now to find out how much your case could be worth.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Self-reliance. It's not a phrase we hear much in our culture these days. It might conjure up images of pioneers, the West, rifles, strapping men, and strong women. But what does it mean for us in today's world? The New American Magazine has just released its latest collector's edition, Self-Reliance, Foundation of Freedom. In it, the New American authors outline the necessity of self-reliance for a free people, tips for self-reliant living, and the importance of not giving up hope. This unique edition includes articles on the self-sufficiency of the founders, preparing for a worst-case scenario, firearms, financial self-reliance, the importance of community, and many other topics by expert writers. Now, for a limited time, the New American is offering a bundle of 3 collector's editions, Self-Reliance, The Great Reset, and Trump World, for just $19.95. Available at shopjbs.org. Visit shopjbs.org today.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Doc Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. So I love the fact that now if you do a test, if you do a mammogram, or if you, get some blood work done, you have access to your records and your test results. I think that is fantastic. It was part of the 21st Century Cures Act that happened in the previous administration. A part of it was there being more transparency with your health care records. I think that is absolutely fantastic. But it's caused some problems. And patients are very, very frustrated because, and understandably so, They now are getting their results in real time, but they don't have access to their doctor to explain the results. And then they go online and they get scared. They're like, wait a second. Okay, that CPK was elevated. That means I'm at risk for heart disease. Oh boy, now what do I do? And then they freak out. And it wouldn't be an issue if you could call your doctor's office in the morning and get in same day. You can't do that. See, how I did it with my practice was, I didn't like this no news is good news. That was somehow the narrative in the 90s and early 2000s where patients said, okay, if I don't hear from you, that means my labs are good. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. If you don't hear from us, first of all, if I'm doing labs, make a follow-up so we can review each and every one of them, give you a copy, and talk about next steps. So come back or do your labs before the next visit so we can at least go over them. If I'm ordering a mammogram, if I'm ordering a biopsy, come back. And in fact, it was kind of the norm. So if I was biopsying your skin lesion, I would do a biopsy, then I would put a stitch in, right, to because we did a biopsy, and I would put either a stitch or two to make sure that you would have a good cosmetic result. You would come back to get the stitches removed, and we would go over the results. Well, insurance, after Obamacare and Medicare, decided, you know what, we're not going to pay for the stitches removal. That's a part of your initial surgery. Well, if you add stitches, you should pay the medical provider for one, making sure there's no infection, making sure there's good skin integrity, make sure there's good wound closure. Going over the biopsy results, they would have covered it. So doctors now, I'm noticing, aren't even putting in stitches. I'm seeing people with circular ulcerative lesions where doctors did a punch biopsy and they're not even closing them because they're not getting paid to do that. And so people are like, because they'll call in going, something's wrong. It's kind of oozing. And I go, why didn't the doctor put a stitch in it? That's how we used to do it, or glue it. No, he didn't want to. Well, when do you see him? I don't. He said he'll notify me of the results if they were abnormal. I'm like, but if it was possibly cancer, you need to know the results. You need to have a follow-up. But insurance isn't paying for that follow-up. There was, I think, a window where if you followed up within 2 weeks, they would assume it was a follow-up for that, even if it had to do with blood pressure or something else. So doctors are like, I don't have time to see people for free. So it was an absolute mess. So I love the idea that you could get your results. If you get a biopsy done, you have access to that pathology. You have access to your mammogram. It's fantastic. The problem is you may not be able to interpret it. So when I had a skin lesion done and it said atypical cells, okay, I know what that means. And I know there's a potential for that to be cancer, but it said margins clear. So, all right, good. But to somebody else, they're like, but I had atypical cells. The margins might have been clear, but how do I know it still didn't spread? So they do need some guidance. Also, if you did have an abnormal mole, you should probably come back in a few months for us to check to see if you have other abnormal moles. And you should probably have regular skin cancer screening. And so we've started to change medicine to more do-it-yourself. And I work for a telemedicine company where we're having people call up going, I need you to interpret my results, lab results. And I go, well, when do you see your doctor again? I don't. Or it's too expensive. Or I'm like, but because some of these need to be followed up on. Your calcium's a little high. That could be your parathyroid. Your BUN creatinine is a little off. You could have been dehydrated, but that could be a sign of kidney function. This needs to be looked at a little deeper. Well, I can't get in and see my provider. So you do it. I go, I can't. And so one of the issues we're having, I think it's still all good. I want people to at least have access to their records. But an issue we're having is people don't know what to do with them. Now, where's the follow-up? And you need to have follow-up. If we're doing a blood test, it's not a one and done. It's, we also want to look at your, like, for example, prostate. Let's say you get your PSA done to check your prostate, and your number is 2.3. And being under 4 is within the normal range. So you're like, whew, I'm good. I look at that 2.3 as something different. If you're at 2.3, I want to know, what were you 6 months ago? Were you 0.2? And now all of a sudden you jumped? depending on how fast your PSA goes within the normal range, that could mean you have something brewing. Now, if your previous year was 2.3 and the previous year before that 2.3, good, there's no change. Personally, if you're under 1 with your PSA, that's a really good sign. Okay, we could breathe easier for a little bit. But, if your numbers are the 2 or 3, I understand it's under 4 in that normal range, but hasn't been, what's happened during that interval. And that's something that needs to be followed up on. Same thing with thyroid. If your TSH level is over 3, you might be, subclinically hypothyroid. Even though under 5 is normal, why are you at 3? Or let's say your number is 0.5. Well, that's kind of high actually, that's low for TSH, meaning high thyroid. TSH is your thyroid stimulating hormone. So that's another thing. Patients freak out. They go, oh my gosh, I have high thyroid. I read up online, I have high thyroid because my TSH is high. It's inverse. The higher the TSH, that means the lower your thyroid, because the TSH is screaming at your thyroid to make hormones. So the levels of that hormone are higher. When you have too much thyroid hormone circulating, your TSH backs off as a feedback mechanism. So a low TSH means you could be high thyroid. A high TSH means you could be low thyroid. So a lot of individuals will then misinterpret, and they'll start freaking out. They'll go online. So anytime you see a medical provider or have blood work done, make sure you have a follow-up. But what is adding a little bit more a complication to the matter is many people are able to pay for a online provider to do labs. You don't have a regular doctor, you don't have a primary care, but you are able to pay to go and get labs done. Now you have labs, some of them are abnormal, and you have nobody to go to with them. Now, I'd rather you get the labs done, and I'd rather you have some labs, but now people are running around with abnormal labs not knowing where to go. So I still recommend, for the love of the Lord, please try to establish a primary care provider, family medicine, internist, I don't care. Just somebody who you can follow up with, look at intervals and look at trends with your blood work, make sure they're doing your physical, and make sure you have somebody to go to. I understand it's taking months to get in with them, but do that, and do that while you're healthy. Get your blood work done and ask them and say, look, what is the best way to follow up with you? Should I already make the follow-up appointment now? Should I want to make an appointment, do 2, where I do 1 now and 1 3 months from now? And I've had that with patients. Usually, though, I'll always get them in same day. But I'm like, look, if you want to get in Christmas week because you're deductible, then put yourself down now. I'm working Christmas week. Put yourself in. So we'll see you before your deductible, and so you can work with your medical provider, assuming the medical provider is still going to work for that company. But having access to your blood work is a good thing. It's just when you go online, you could scare yourself. So make sure you still have that go-to so you could review them. 1-877-Doc-Daliah.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.